My wife got her master's there. Primary care physician got tired of me. Retired, and I thought, but again, it can
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our conversation this morning. It's 10 o'clock. I want to start on time to respect your time. So Peter, we'll go ahead and get started. Are we broadcasting, Guido? We should be broadcasting. Take us live, Fred. Make it happen. All right. Thank you all for being here. This screen is going to have up kind of a PowerPoint deck that's going to help lead us through the evening, or I keep saying the evening, pardon me, this morning's session. And I appreciate you being out here today to join us. We have up to 2 hours here, but if we don't need the 2 hours, we'll get you back on your way so you can go enjoy this absolutely beautiful day here in the great city of Marina. It's gorgeous weather out. I'm really glad I made my way up here to the Central Coast for this event. Now let's go to the next slide. Magic. So welcome. Just a note, we are recording this and it's being live broadcast. We do that for transparency purposes and public education engagement purposes. So we will be recording this session, and notably, because we're recording, I also want to make sure we use this microphone. So if you have something you want to share or say, I want to come to you with a microphone, hold the microphone for you. I'll just go ahead and hang on to it. That way we don't have to pass it through a bunch of hands and whatnot. But that'll give me a chance to make sure we capture your audio and you could be effectively heard. And then once we have the recording done, we'll be posting it on the website, which is at thecityofmarina.org. So that's the city's website. And then we have just a friendly URL, which is For Marina by Marina. And then that'll be available for later viewing as well. All right, let's go to the next slide. So real quick, my name is Ryder Smith, and I'm with a firm called Tripepi. We do marketing outreach, public affairs consulting for cities all over California and local government. So we work with about 200 agencies in California, pretty big firm. We have about 70 people on our team that do work. I'm actually joined by Peter Johnson on my team over here. He's a senior business analyst on the team and a recovering assistant editor at a newspaper, and wicked smart guy. And he and I have been tag teaming leading this effort. We have a couple other folks on our team that are back home that helped get you all here today. And then we also have some other folks in the room, so I'm going to just have them introduce themselves real quick. I'm going to start with the city manager.
Great. I'm Lane Long, the city manager with Marina. I am really excited that we have so many people here today. We appreciate you taking time to be here.
And Guido.
Guido, I'm the director of development. Community development director.
So basically, Lane is your CEO running the organization day to day, taking direction from your city council. And Guido helps make sure that the planning and like your local coastal plan and your zoning is all being adhered to and developed and considered for long-term planning. It is a great turnout. You know, you never know on a Saturday morning on a beautiful day like this what your turnout's going to be. So I'm always guessing in my head. I was thinking maybe 5, 6, but you guys doubled my estimate. So well done. Way to execute. This is a great turnout. We have enough people in the room. I'm going to go around real quick. Just if you're okay, just give us your first name and maybe how long you've been, if you're a Marina resident, how long you've been a Marina resident. And if you're not, that's okay too. It's a safe space. Just say what city you do reside in, how long you've been there. I'm going to start over here. Just first name and how long you've been. I'll hold on to the mic.
Yeah, first name Jan. I was Marina about 1985. Okay. So happy birthday, 50 years old now.
Congratulations. That's nice. That's great. And how about yourself? First name and how long you been here?
My name's Alfreda, and I got to Marina in 1997.
Okay. All right. So far we got oldest, longest resident here.
My name is Adam, and I first moved to Marina in 2007 and to attend CCUMB. I moved away to Seaside, as students do sometimes, but I definitely wanted to make sure and come back. And this is where I've put down roots and started a family.
Great. Thanks for being here.
Jack, I moved here half a year ago.
Okay. All right. Newton, welcome.
Jury, I've lived here for 33 years.
All right. That's a pretty good number.
Mario, late 2022.
Hi, I'm Patty, and I've lived here for a year and a half.
Great. All right, we got all sorts of good perspectives today.
I am Peter. I've been here 1981.
Oh, I think we just got a new lead.
Paul Cheng, I'm on the planning commissions. I live here about 1.5 years here.
Okay, very good.
Debbie,
All right.
Elizabeth, and I've been here since 1961.
Oh, mic drop. Wow. Impressive.
Ishmael Hernandez, I'm the Public Works Director.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Sorry, I should have come around for the inductions earlier.
Good morning. I'm Jamie. I've lived here since 2015 and I serve on the Public Works Commission.
All right, great. And then we just had one last arrival. We're doing first name and what year you moved into the city.
Good morning. My name's Brady Mamura. My wife Kathy and I moved here in August of 2015.
All right, great. This is wonderful. What a range of Marina experience we have in the room. This would be really nice. And congratulations on being the longest resident here. 1961, you said? Six.
It was February of, excuse me, of 1961 when we bought our home. We moved in, it wasn't even done yet. Just the framework was up. We moved in April the 26th of 61 into our home.
Not only have you been here a long time, but your memory is far better than mine. That's impressive. Wow. All right. Well, we have like a 20-minute presentation. Let's go through our agenda. What do we got for our agenda today, Peter? There we go. So number one, we want to make sure we share information with you about the Coastal Access and Amenities Plan and why we're even here to talk this morning. I suspect most of you know why you're here because you showed up, but we're going to make sure we're in detailed about that. We'd like to discuss this potential $3 million in allocation from the California American Water Company to help fund possible uses inside the city limits. Then we want to make sure we answer your questions, right? So if we're going to ask for your feedback on something, it's our goal to make sure you're well informed. And fortunately, we have Guido, we have the city manager here, we got Public Works here. So we got lots of people here who are in best position to try to answer your questions as residents. And then we're going to get into a feedback session where we're actually going to talk through what's working, what's not. My hope is today, we put these tables in the round because our hope is you'll come to the table, make some new friends. That's one of the great things I love about the community engagement work we get to do is I introduce neighbors to neighbors and you kind of walk out of here with some new folks, you know, maybe you'll see them at the grocery store, at the church or something like that. So hopefully make some new friends today too. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So as I said, we're going to spend 20 minutes on this. Then we're going to do Q&A. We estimate it'll be 30 minutes. Could go longer, could go shorter. We'll try to keep it about 30 so we leave plenty of time for the feedback session. And then we'll do feedback. And feedback is going to consist of, I'm trying to figure this out. Given the audience we have here, I think feedback is going to consist of you talking in your groups first and then sharing some ideas on your whiteboard. And then we'll take some additional verbal feedback to supplement that. And I'll explain that when we get to it. Let's go to the next slide. So why are we here? Well, the Coastal Commission conditionally, right, Lane? Conditionally approved the California American Coastal, approved a plan for the coastal development permit for Calin's desalination plant. Now, I just remember, so as Lane has reminded me, Lane got here about 12 years ago, and almost within the first couple of weeks, this plant became a discussion point and an issue. And the city has over the time taken a pretty strong position against the existence of this permit or the granting of this permit and the construction of the desalination plant for various reasons, which we're happy to answer questions about. But it's been a long, despite the objections of the city, the Coastal Commission did ultimately conditionally award this permit to move forward. In that conditional approval are several stipulations or requirements of things they have to do in order to be able to develop. And one of those is condition number 17, which essentially requires that they submit a engagement plan to the Coastal Commission for the Coastal Access and Amenities Project or plan. And then eventually they would fund $3 million to help support some infrastructure, some park, some service, something inside some coastal access path, but only if the desal project is built. So if the desal project is never built, $3 million never appears, just to be clear. So from the city's perspective, they are continuing to push against the development of the desalination plant, to be clear. This isn't a concession that the plant should move forward, but they also recognize that it's important to gather community feedback because if the plant moves forward. And if the $3 million is therefore delivered, they want to make sure it's directed in a way that is aligned with you and your interests as residents in the community. Go to the next slide. So CalAm has engaged a firm called EnviroGauge to do that community engagement plan and to gather feedback. That's been going on. They started that actually about a month or so ago. But the city of Marina was concerned that that firm was directly affiliated with California American Water Company and was going to work particularly in their interests. And the city wanted to make sure that the voice of its residents was fairly represented in this, how to allocate the $3 million. As such, they asked, they wanted to launch their own independent outreach process, which is the For Marina by Marina process that we were then brought in to help out with. And so very quickly we ramped up to start doing community outreach and engagement to make sure we were capturing the authentic voices of Marina residents and bringing their ideas and thoughts to the table and contributing that to the thought process that's going to go on with how to allocate the $3 million. So that's what's brought us here today. I will note that our goal is to take feedback from 3 sources. The first one is a virtual workshop that we did earlier this week. The second one is this very workshop we have today. And the third source of information is we have some online forms that people have been submitting to us. And we're going to combine all that into a report. That report's going to go to your city council, your directly elected leaders in the community. And then those folks are going to kind of bless and approve that report, offer their thoughts. And then Lane will convey that on to the California Coastal Commission to ensure that Marina's viewpoint on how to allocate that $3 million, if it comes to pass, is reflected. So that's the vision. And that's why we're really appreciative of having all of you here today, particularly with the diversity of perspectives that you bring. It does bring me actually to one question too. How many of you heard about this meeting on social media? Raise your hand, and that's why you're here. 1 hand, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And how many of you got this fancy mailer that was sent out to you? And that's why you're here. Okay. I see most hands. Anything else that you use to hear about today so we can learn as a city about how to best engage you? Any other sources of information? We did have a newspaper article hit, I think, this week too, right? Yeah. All right. Very good. So that's why we're here. We're here to get your feedback. Let's go to the next slide. So quick rundown, and I want to be clear that I am as expert in this as I can be for my 4 weeks of engagement on this project. I will do my best at a high level, and the man with the plan who knows all the details is your city manager, Lane, who's lived this for quite some time. But we'll go ahead and talk about what the potential scope is and potential uses for the funds of that $3 million. Next slide. So the plan is generally focused in what we call the blue area on the, which is also called the the coastal zone. And this is the zone that typically the California Coastal Commission has authority over. In your materials, we hand out some materials. If you came in late, you may have missed them, but we have this map right here. And this map, this blue zone on the map, in fact, let me make sure you have this too, sir. That blue zone is where the coastal zone is. So this is generally the jurisdiction, or is the jurisdiction, of the California Coastal Commission, and it's based upon inset from certain tidal zones in with the coast, and that helps determine where they have some authority as a coastal commission. Based upon conversations, it is generally our perception that that coastal zone is where the Coastal Commission would like to see the $3 million spent. We will explore other ways to spend that $3 million outside that coastal zone, but we want to make sure we identify projects within the coastal zone, because if the Coastal Commission very much has a preference for only something inside that coastal zone, we want to make sure our opinions are held on that. Otherwise, they could just ignore any advice we have on where else to spend money, in which case we haven't fulfilled our hopes and needs that we have. So we are operating within that zone as being a sensitive area for us to be focused on. And we want to talk about various projects that could potentially fit within that zone. So let's go to the next. And by the way, the funding, it can't be used to go build a private home, right? Just to be clear, it has to be a public benefit project. So access to beaches is usually a big part of the California Coastal Commission objective. That could be parking lot improvements, beach pathway improvements, but it could also be other community infrastructure that serves the broader community and doesn't serve an interested private party. So we've identified kind of priority 1 sites that could address that fit in that coastal zone and could serve the interest of the purpose of these funds. There are 3 beach access points, the CMAX property, the Dunes Drive, and Lake Court, that are all possible access points to improve and address. And there's some complications with each of those that we could speak to. There are parking upgrades that we could be done to improve the ability to drive a car to an area, get access to the beach, get out of your car and go to the beach. There are various trails as well that could be addressed. We could look at just some environmental restoration, fixing up some dunes or fixing up some other environmental issues, and then potential passive recreation as well. And that is all outlined, I believe, on the second sheet that we provided to you. This document right here, which just has a bigger blow up of that slide. I know for my eyeballs, it's very hard to read that. So we wanted to give you something that was a little more readable. All right, we'll go to the next slide. One of the sites that was identified as an area that's already in this coastal zone and is of big community resource is the Loch Padden Park. And bulleted on this list, I won't, actually I will read through them all for the benefit of those at home just to make sure they can hear it too. We identified several projects just within that park that could serve to benefit from improvement. And I should also be clear that, as I recall from my conversation with you, Lane, a lot of these items were previously identified in a public process around priority for the park. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So, so those listed here are vernal pond restoration, trail system improvements, Asian gardens, pollinator garden, urban forest, oak woodland, and the community gardens, the bridge over the pond, recreation activity play areas, and then general public facilities, educational amphitheater, things of that nature. So all these opportunities exist within that park area and is perhaps one of the more prominent features within the coastal zone that is also a big fixture within the community and a space that's used by a lot of Marina residents. Go to the next slide. And then we identify what we call priority 2 opportunities. And we say these are priority 2 mostly because, again, it's pretty, the language, although it was vague in the details of item 17 in terms of the conditions of approval on the permit, the implication was because it was a California Coastal Commission directive, their scope was the coastal zone. But outside that coastal zone, there are other possibilities that we may want to consider, at least float as options if the Coastal Commission would want to look beyond that. And those could deal with other facilities in the city, other parks in the city, other trails, and just general restoration of other landscaping and natural habitat outside the coastal zone. Go to the next slide. Okay, so it's pretty simple in terms of like, we're looking to get feedback both on opportunities within the coastal zone that serve the public good and then opportunities outside the coastal zone. And we're going to have a series of questions we'll work through and ask you all to contemplate and chew on. But first, I want to make sure you're well informed. I'm going to invite Lane to join me up here because inevitably you're going to be answering more of these questions than me. But in fact, I think what we'll do is, why don't you man this microphone? And then I'll take this microphone around and I want to use this microphone to capture the audio for the home audience. So do you have questions about this plan, what I've just presented so far, anything like that, that I can, Lane can answer for you as an expert on this particular subject? Great. I'll hang on to the mic.
I have a simple yes or no question, so I don't want a long answer from Len. Did the city Marina receive a written letter, a written memo from the California Coastal Commission stating that the money has to be used in the coastal zone?
No, we have never received any letter or memo from the Coastal Commission how to spend this. What we have received, what we have is the condition 17. That is what the Coastal Commission commissioners have approved. I have met directly with the project manager and with the executive director of the Coastal Commission and talking about this. And they said, even though it doesn't explicitly say that in the condition that it has to be in the coastal zone, they acknowledge their jurisdiction is only in the coastal zone, and most likely that would be the required area, but they have never sent us a letter that says it has to be. I think Ryder explained it exactly. Most likely it's going to have to be there. That's why we're focusing our discussions, but in case it can be outside, we're also going to have that feedback too.
I think like the Boy Scouts, we want to plan well so we can execute on both fronts. Did you have a follow-up question? I'll hang on to the mic. I got it.
So I have a different question. I saw your presentation and it's lacking. The presentation doesn't explain why the California Coastal Commission require KOM to provide $3 million. And I think you should add that into your presentation because many people don't understand, and that's a requirement under what authority and law.
So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. You want to explain a little bit, Lane, why they're requiring this $3 million and how that's kind of consistent with the mission of the California Coastal Commission?
Yes, this $3 million goes back to the hearing that they held back in November 2022. And the city was absolutely in opposition to that whole project. Was a lot of discussion. This was in the actual coastal commissioners as they were trying to make a decision there. People had thrown out it. One of the points that was important for the city of Marina is that we talked about this whole desal plant and project was really harming our city in a lot of different ways. And so they were trying to say, well, how much money, if we give you, will you support the desal plant? And we couldn't give them any dollar because how do you give a dollar amount to your groundwater? And so the city did not give them a dollar amount. And so someone floated out $30 million and someone floated out $8 million. And CalAm said they couldn't afford any of those. Someone threw out $1 million, and then the commissioners just arbitrarily said $3 million. And that is what they approved.
Science. All right. Question.
Yeah. I'm not sure I have the facts right, but when I was reading about the desalination plant, it seemed like it wasn't really going to benefit the citizens of Marina, that water was going to other cities. And I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, great question. That's a common question. So,
and you're absolutely correct. Marina gets 100% of our water from the Marina Coast Water District, who gets it from 9 wells that pump water from our groundwater aquifer. So our groundwater aquifer is extremely important, not only for drinking, but we have a lot of wetlands and vernal ponds and species that depend on. We call it the dune sand aquifer, and that's just an important thing from an environmental perspective, from a healthy perspective, and we are fighting to save and protect that.
oh, hang on a second.
So how would the desalination plant affect our groundwater?
I don't want to get too much into the weeds there, because really the purpose here is to focus on the $3 million. We are litigating that right now. There's a lot of studies that have been done that are making it a lot more people, scientifically, experts have done a lot of studies on that. But I'll say high level, this desal plant is different from any others. It's not direct intake from the ocean. That's why they call it slant wells. They go down, slanting down through our groundwater aquifer. Yes, part of it will draw seawater, but we also know that part of it will come from our groundwater aquifer. And I'll just kind of leave it at that level.
Okay. Yeah.
Just as part of this presentation, and so I'm clear about sort of the history of this and have all the facts and we're clear. I must have missed at what point it was determined that the city was opposed to this in the first place. I mean, there was never a vote on it. So I'm just curious because as a longtime Marina resident who went to the Coastal Commission hearing in favor of the desal plant, it feels contradictory when everyone says that my city opposed it unanimously, which is not the case clearly.
Okay, look, well, I don't want to get again too much in this, but I will tell you that the city did try to get this before the city council. They had to come and get a coastal development permit from the city. The process was it would go to the planning commission and then the city council. It went to the planning commission. The planning commission denied it. It was appealed to the city council. Then CalAm and the coastal commission stepped in and they said, we're going to bypass the process, bypass the city council. And they took the permit directly to the coastal commission. And so the reason that your city hasn't voted on it, your city council hasn't voted on it, is because CalAm directly wanted to bypass it and make sure that your city council could not vote on that issue.
Okay, Liz, hang on 1 second.
Was this coastal commission ever here to see where the slant well is that's in our aquifer, or they just approved it?
I can't really speak to what the coastal commission has or hasn't done. They have spent a lot of time on this issue. Their staff time, they have amazing staff people. We work with them on a lot of projects, and so I can't say anything bad or negative about the coastal commission. They're doing things from their process and perspective that they need to do.
Well, I have a question. You said there's certain things you have to do on number 17. Are there other things that the city has to do in order for this to comply with the Coastal Commission's directive? Or is that the only one where they're going to compensate the city? And one other question, has the city, I don't know, authorized or been a part of that they're drilling test wells right now at State Beach?
Again, the whole process has bypassed the city council, so we've never issued a permit for that. And then what was
the first question? Sorry, what was the first question?
First question, is there any other points? We have point 17 that they're going to, other points that are going to be directly effective on the city?
Yes, there are. So there's 20 conditions overall. The first condition is the primary one. The first condition is they have to prove that they have water rights and that pumping from our groundwater, pumping from the slant wells will not affect our groundwater. And that's the big issue that's in litigation that has been studied really for the past couple of years. And that will be going back to the judge in November, probably November of this year. So that's the primary one, and the city is obviously actively engaged in that.
And then I guess, Lane, just to be clear, there's clause 17 talks about this $3 million coming to the city if the desal plant is built. Are there any other funds that are identified to remunerate back to the city as if this desal plant is built?
No, this is the only funds that will come back to the city, and that's why this process is important to us. Is again, this process has bypassed your elected representatives in the city. So with EnviroGauge working for CalAm, they're saying what they think the representatives or citizens of Marina want, and we feel, and this is why we contracted with Trepepi Smith, is we feel it's important that you speak up and that your city council make the decision, and they will tell the Coastal Commission what they think our residents want to do with that $3 million. And we think that that's the appropriate process. And we've told that to CalAm and to the Coastal Commission from the start, that we think this is a better process. We need to go through, get the feedback to your elected officials, let them make those recommendations to the Coastal Commission. And that's why we're really grateful that you came here this afternoon, so that your input will be given, fed back directly to the city council. And that'll be an April 15th meeting. Again, they'll take public input and then they'll make their recommendation to the Coastal Commission.
Yeah, hang on one second. Let me make sure I get your audio.
I went to one of these EnviroGauge things and they did not state in any way, shape or form that it had to be within the coastal commission. I know that's a very gray area. But going forward, is the city going to get a copy of their input to look at to compare to what you're getting today?
Yes, we have requested that from them.
So when can we talk about our proposal? We can talk it now, or do we have to wait until the end of the?
So when you say talk about the proposal, talk about the ideas we have for how to allocate the $3 million.
Yeah, our idea about.
So, well, we want to make sure we went through Q&A first so we could answer folks' questions. I would love to hear if there's any, I'm not hearing any questions about coastal zone, some of these projects, background, the parks, access. So I'd love to, if there's questions on that, I'd really love to focus on that because ultimately, while we certainly want to be transparent and answer questions about the desal plant and some of this history, our goal today is to come out of here with, hey, if this thing moves forward, can we make sure we're reflecting your areas of concern and interest? And kind of regardless of whether or not you support the desal plant or not, if it happens, if it happens, let's just make sure we've effectively articulated as Marina residents what we'd like to see that $3 million do. So having said that, are there questions? Yeah.
Thank you. Are we prioritizing based on things that we wish would happen or things that should happen because there are already legal requirements and we were hoping that this would fund that? So for example, with beach access, there may be issues where the city is obligated to spend money, but we're hoping that this money will come through CalAm instead.
Good question. So we don't have any legal obligations to make any improvements in any of these beach access points. These are places that we've identified as potential areas that we can make improvements that we think would benefit our residents. And that's partly why we really are here today. I've identified these sites, want to hear back from you what you think is important. If we've left out any also, we're interested in that feedback.
Yeah, and I would say, especially to Lane's point, we want to make sure we have some thoughts just because they seemed obvious and you have a professional up here who knows the nature of the city and the infrastructure needs. So, but that's an inspirational point. If there's something else that's on our list, we need to hear that today, that you all have First Amendment rights and the ability to express yourself. We want to hear that as part of the process today around these sites.
So Patton Park has been identified as Site 1. Is that correct? Can you ask how far is that from the park to the beach?
I think it's probably somewhere between around a half mile. I'm not positive. It's a good walk.
Is there access right now from park?
So let me.
We can pull up a slide.
Yeah, let me be sure. So are you talking the end of Dunes Drive? Is that what you're talking about?
Are you guys, Peter, are we doing slides over here? All right, 0.6 of a mile is the quick answer. And then I think we're trying to, which slide did we want up? This one? Which is this the slide you want, Lane?
So I want to be sure. So what side are you talking about? You talking about Dunes Drive? Oh, Patton Park. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so Loch Patton Park is an interesting park, and that is one of our council's priorities. We actually have a joint meeting with the Monterey Peninsula Regional Park District. They own the majority of that park. The city owns part of it. They adopted a master plan years back, over 20 years ago. We haven't really activated and moved forward on a lot of that plan. And so that's one of the priorities of the city council is to really try to activate, improve, clean up Loch Patton Park. And so that is why that is one of the projects on this list. So it's not a direct access to the ocean, to the beach, but it's within the coastal zone. And that was one project that I specifically discussed with Dr. Kate Helkebridge, Executive Director with the Coastal Commission. And she said, yes, that would qualify as an area that we could spend the $3 million.
Good question. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, Lock Padden Park has the most beautiful view of the ocean from the height from Marina. And so that's one of the things that is so precious is see the ocean from how high you get at Lock Padden Park.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because I think we've been focusing on access of physical access, but access to the ocean also is viewpoint. So that is great feedback.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of perspective we're also looking at here today as part of this process. Did you have, I think you had your hand up earlier.
Following the $3 million, that's a lot of money. You said it was allocated to us if it's going to, it's 2022. Do you have any clause to say the inflation factors? Because CalAm is a private company, their goal is to making money. And so money matters. We're likely to get it. That's the way I see it, but I hope not. You have an inflation protector factor because, maybe this project will be finished in the next 5 years. Still, I do not know where they try to put this desal plant. The rumor was to put into the CMAX old site, but that's maybe too close to the ocean.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So it answers the first part of your question, that the condition just says it's a flat $3 million. There's no increase.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the city is working on another improvement project. This is Fort Ordoon State Beach. We have a grant with the State Coastal Conservancy, and they have money for improving access to the beach. And so we've received a grant. And so that's the existing park there. There's an existing trail. And so we're trying to improve that existing trail to make it more ADA accessible. We're trying to make it so those are mobility impaired, or if you have young kids, you're pulling a stroller, that you can make access there. It's $800,000 just to go through the permitting process of an existing path. So that kind of gives you a sense of that 3 million is not going to go very far. So we're spending 800,000. We've gotten a grant to do that. So the first phase is just go through the permitting process. That's $800,000. So any work that we do on access to the beach, a lot of that is going to go through your permitting and design process. Lock Padden Park, you don't have as many constraints of that just because it's an existing park. And so from that perspective, Lock Padden, more dollars may actually go to improvements than actual permitting.
And then Lane, I guess, do we know where the potential desal plant location is going to be?
Yes, it's out there by the regen. They call it regen now, where the landfill is. That's where the actual desal goes. The slant wells will go out there by CMAX, which is down in our. Correct.
Back to salt to the ocean.
It-
don't like to mention the scientific issue, but on the beach, because there are more salty water.
Correct as well.
That's outside of scope for
Yeah,
today.
I'll stay away from that one.
Yeah.
What is it? Oceanography say that is the term they call it dead zone in the ocean.
Right.
Dead zone.
So,
So right.
okay, we got a question over here.
All right, we have been talking about $3 million. So I just want to know, I'm new here there. How this $3 million come up and based on what? Is there any plan?
There's absolutely no basis. It was just arbitrarily last second Coastal Commission just said $3 million.
And there's no plan right now for that money. That's why we're here today.
Yeah, I know the city opposed it, and then here city throw out 3 million. And even though if you want to go ahead with the plan or whatever, I think 3 million may not be sufficient.
So I think I want to clarify something, which I want to clarify something. I think I heard you just say the city threw out 3 million. The city didn't throw out 3 million. That was coastal. The city never threw a number out. It was the Coastal Commission that divined this number according to Lane.
That's absolutely. They kept on saying what dollar amount would be sufficient that we would support the desal? And we couldn't support it for any dollar amount.
Hang on, sorry, please wait 1 second. I gotta make sure I get microphones, otherwise people at home don't hear this.
If we go ahead with this, does that mean the $3 million can be revised?
No, that this is an order that the Coastal Commission made. It would take the Coastal Commission, it would take CalAm to go back to the Coastal Commission and say, we want a revision of this condition. We can't do it, the city of Marina, only CalAm can.
Thank you.
Thank you. My thought is at this point is that we should move forward with what our priorities are, knowing that $3 million is only $3 million if this eventually gets approved, and that we should choose to work within our budget of $3 million. Looking ahead to this may not happen at all, or the cost may go up and be beyond $3 million, and we've committed ourselves then to supplement whatever we've approved with our own funds.
I think that is the perfect segue to getting our feedback.
That
Thank
is
you.
correct. I'd like to say, do you have questions, any more questions about how we could allocate the $3 million as opposed to, say, the merits of desalination?
I have actually a fundamental question about why we were even having this meeting this morning, because I'm just getting a lot of mixed messages, and I want to defer to people. I came in a little late, and I'm sure most of you have probably been here longer than we have. But has anybody heard of that organization, Just Water? Okay, that was apparently a grassroots organization that because when we moved here, we got bombarded by information from that group. They were against the desal plant, okay? And it was a huge outpouring. In fact, one of the council people made it their foundation in terms of running for city council. In fact, that's what that.
Do you have a question though for Lane?
My question is this meeting, are we getting mixed messages about, you're saying that if the plant is built, so is this a concession that, hey, we're conceding, we're going to allow them to build that plant? So we're talking about $3 million. Do you know what the possible damage with all that study, from what I've seen, what the possible study, if that plant does go through, it's the damage to the environment and to the possible aquifer is going to be a lot more than $3 million.
So I would just, can I just, you asked a question.
Are you saying that now we're already saying we're going to go ahead and concede and accept this $3 million? And
so I think,
Okay, we can stop you now.
Can we just answer your question?
Brad, you missed the first part of the meeting. That issue is addressed. We are not conceding the desal at all. We come because this is a condition that CalAm has hired EnviroGauge, and they're going to tell the Coastal Commission, CalAm's going to say, this is how we want the $3 million to be spent in Marina. If we don't have this meeting, if our city council doesn't have input, then they're going to do what they want to do that will best meet the needs of CalAm. That is why we're here. We are not conceding. We said at the start of the meeting, we absolutely don't think that desal plant will ever get built. We don't think this $3 million will ever come to the city of Marina. But in case it does get built, we want a plan of how that $3 million gets spent, and we want it developed by your city council, hearing directly from you. That's why we're here, not conceding at all the desal.
Question.
If I I would like to submit my idea about the use of $3 million.
So I want to finish the Q&A and then we'll get to that. And I'd like to wrap up the Q&A and keep it focused on what we're trying to do, which is get your feedback on how we allocate this $3 million. So what's going to happen is I'm going to invite those of you that are not sitting at tables to come join at some tables. And I'd like to take 20 minutes and have you have a conversation. We have a series of questions we'll put up on the screen for you to consider chewing on. I'd like you to discuss through those questions. We have whiteboards at each table, and I'd like you to identify whoever has the best handwriting at your table to document some thoughts from the group. And no matter, just make sure your idea is on the sheet. It doesn't matter if the whole table has to agree or disagree. We're just asking that you have a conversation with your table mates and that the ideas show up. And I'm hoping you have some constructive dialogue with each other too about the pros and cons. This dialogue oftentimes makes us better and it sharpens ideas. So the goal is to have those conversations. We'll put the questions up. And I'll try to kind of move you through those. So actually what we'll do is we'll put up questions one at a time and I'll give about, how many questions we have, Peter? We have 5 or 6, 5? We'll do 5 minutes in each question. So we'll do 5 minutes on this first question, write down number 1, put your ideas down about how you would answer this question. Then we'll go to question 2 and we'll just maintain the rotation to get us through in about 25 minutes. Any questions about that process? Engage in discourse with your fellow residents, please. Question 4, which improvements to Lock Padden Park are most important to you? Which would you like to see funding prioritized for? So now we're specifically looking at Lock Padden Park. If we were going to do something there, what would that look like? And I believe we have a slide right after this that reminds you of all the things at Lock Padden Park. So let's zoom in on Lock Padden and let's talk about Lock Padden.
That's the last.
Question after this. I'll read that again since wasn't on mic. If you're going to be outside the coastal zone, if the 3 million could go outside the coastal zone, what facilities, recreational opportunities, or restoration projects would you prioritize? So we actually, not because you're limited to this list, but we have a couple thoughts on that. But you may have a lot of other ideas we haven't thought of. So I think this is another slide, Guido. Yeah. Oh no, I lied. I guess we don't have another slide. I thought we did. Okay. Freedom of choice. Go crazy, kids. I'll just note that Peter found the slide I was looking for. So these are some starter points, but you may have other ideas and feel free to express them. One minute warning, 1 minute warning. Okay. I hope that was fun. You got to talk to your neighbors a little bit and have some discourse, right? It's always engaging. I get lots of energy. This is kind of like for the purpose of what we do at our firm, this gives me energy. Okay, so let's bring it back together, team. What I'm going to have now is, we're documenting this. We're going to take photos of each one of these. They're going to be included in the packet of information that goes to the city council, which I presume was just going to make its way onto the coastal commission too. So your handwriting will forever be marked by government documents. Congratulations. But I'm just going to have each scribe or a substitute come in and just talk through each of the questions. We'll bring the questions back up on this. Go back to question one, just put it on the screen so that we can correlate it and then you can follow along. So I'll bring up sorry, what was your name again? Adam. I'm going to bring Adam up here. Adam, if you want to summarize this bad boy and just use the microphone, that'd be great. And try to take about 2 minutes to maybe 3 minutes.
Okay, for all five.
Yeah, to get through it.
Gotcha. So for question one, and I'm not going to look behind me because you all can see it, I hope. But some of the things that came up were a cleaner look and identity for the city, right? Our sort of sense of placelessness, because is the sign of the city really small or even visible or overgrown with bushes, something that could be addressed. Beach parking was something that came up, and specifically, not just the fact that there's not enough of it, but also the fact that that could be a potential way to generate some revenue so that we have more than just this $3 million to work with in the long run. Event space or amphitheater, some sort of place to gather came up as an idea, and then just generally beach access improvements. The locations in the coastal zone that we identified, sorry, this is sticking. The locations we identified as top priorities were Loch Padden and Lake Court for the beach access point. For question three, for beach access amenities, clean public restrooms and safe public restrooms came up repeatedly, both for the beach access points, but also for Loch Padden, right? There's some issues with kind of, what happens around the bathroom at Loch Padden. Don't go there at night, folks, in my opinion. Trail conditions and improvements came up repeatedly, both at Loch Padden and for beach access. Again, parking came up. And also another revenue generating idea. What if there was a concessions lease, sort of like they do over by Lover's Point in the city of Pacific Grove, right? Another way where this could generate more revenue for the city in the longer term. And also provide that service for beachgoers. Again, amphitheater, something of music came up under question 4. Again, trail improvements. Pond restoration was acknowledged as likely far exceeding the 3 million. But since the county owns part of that, then in theory, they would have to kick in some too. So maybe a good way to get more bang for our buck there. Bathroom facilities improvements and safety came up again. And then finally, for things outside of that coastal zone, a Los Arboles sport complex improvements came up. Windy Hill Park, the fact that there's no restroom there came up as an issue. And then I thought it was unique, the idea of recognizing our existing wells and our water sources, sort of a placemaking effort, maybe some kind of sign or placard or something. And that was it. Yes. Yeah, so clean restrooms came up repeatedly, but also specifically in regard to Loch Padden, safety issues come up. I take my child to the bathrooms in the playground there. Right, there's graffiti. Other dads I've talked to have found needles there. I've seen drug deals happen in that parking lot. Right, it's just it stands. So CCTV was an idea that was brought up as potentially a way to deter that kind of activity and maybe make it safer.
Sure.
I would just like to let you know that there is a restroom going in at Windy Hill Park.
All right, look at that. You asked for it and immediately. That's how we roll in Marina. All right, very good. That was a phenomenal demonstration, and you got a round of applause, which was well done. Or you never job. Good job. Well done. Scribe number 2. Yeah, thank you, Pat.
Okay, well, top priorities, additional parking, especially at Marina State Beach. And then improve the water runoff system. So the rainwater system goes directly under the parking lot, and every year it chips away sections of the parking lot. So I think that needs to be updated and improved. More walking access in the blue zone. Public facility amphitheater. We'll get to replace missing sidewalks later because that's out of the zone. Access at CMEX, a future park possibly. More restrooms everywhere along the blue zone, and restoration of the wetlands. And then our priority sites, we decided CMEX site and public access south of beach at Lake Court. So I don't know. Well, I won't go into it, but okay. Amenities. Number 1, parking. Number 2, restrooms. Number 3, trails and restoration. Oh, fine. Okay, lock pattern improvements. Number 1, Vernal Pond restoration, Asian gardens, recreation and active play area, public facilities, including amphitheater, elevated bridge over the pond. We know that's kind of a pipe dream, but it would be really cool. And beach access from the park. And again, I don't know how that's possible or how that would play out, but it's on our list. Okay. Outside the coastal zone, construct missing sidewalk along Carmel, Rain Dollar, and Redwood. And add a small park with courts, basketball, tennis, volleyball. I know there's courts at Los Arboles, but they're not always accessible. So I think that's it.
Nicely done. Thank you. All right. And remind me of your name? Jamie.
Substitute.
Yes.
All right. So question number 1. We want to serve the broadest population of Marina possible. We want to improve AD access and we want to improve the Marina Beach parking lot. And just as an overarching principle, we want whatever project we come up with as a city that we commit to executing it with or without CalAm. These are all sticking, aren't they? Okay, that's fine. So we identified Lock Patton Park for its feasibility and having the biggest public impact. And then as far as a specific beach access point, we prioritized the CMEX property. All right, question number 3. We answered with the ADA access at the Fort Dunes. And then we also thought we might like to see an educational component there, whether it be about habitat care or just beach safety, because we know that there are incidents that happen along the beach and we don't have exactly the, oh, the most important thing. It's the thing that I said too. Bathrooms, restrooms, whatever we want to call them. But we need that because otherwise people will do their business regardless. All right. And then for Lock Patton, which was our priority, we'd like to see the restoration of the vernal ponds, and we want to prioritize the maintenance of anything that we accomplish as well, because we realize that we can do a big splashy project, but if we don't have the resources to maintain these, that's an issue. And we also put down that we wanted to improve the trail system, because I would ask, what is it that people do when they go to Lock Patton Park? Outside of drug deals. All right, so now for the outside the coastal zone projects, we are interested in funding park maintenance and having safer walkways within the city and feeder paths from different parts of the city to the larger community. And then lastly, we had our public works director at our table, but we are talking about the landscaping in the city and then some public art. Like, where are our murals? Where are our, yes, and I think we have recruited some people who are going to be coming to our Public Works Commission meetings in the future. All right, that's it. Thank you.
That was phenomenal. Thank you guys very much. I love that you were all supportive of one another. I saw a lot about restrooms there, Lane. I know they have something. They have something called Tree City USA. I don't know if they have Restroom City USA, but if there is, I think we got a target. All right. That was great. Now, so everybody had a chance to have their group kind of summary shared. We're going to take photos of all these things. So that's Peter's job. And once we are done here, is there anything else that you need to share? You either feel wasn't properly expressed or you just want to articulate a particular point? I know you had some strong thoughts you wanted to share.
So I watched the Coastal Commission discussion at the hearing appeal of the KLM, from the morning until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So at about 8 o'clock, when the commission chairwoman discussed the amount of money required from KLM, and that's why I asked under what authority can the commission is that KLM give me dollar. So I will discuss it. At first, the chairwoman said, okay, in the morning when the meeting starts, and each commission has their opinion, and one said, okay, maybe 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, because so unjust. So at 8 o'clock at night, the chairwoman of the commission tell KLM, okay, we want $15 million. If you want the permit tonight, we can approve. And KLM said, I only propose $1 million. I don't have authority to, agree 15 million. Give me a couple of minutes. I call the president of KLM. So the chair give him 10 minutes or so. So 10 minutes came back. The KLM rep said, okay, I talked with President KLM. We only agree $3 million. We done a lot, this and that, this and that. So they have a vote and KLM approved $3 million. So under what authority? The Coastal Commission cannot go to a private company, give me money. They base their authority on what environment justice policy. So they have authority. In the staff report and in the condition 17, they mentioned that Marina is disadvantage authority, and the new diesel just create more burden to the entire city Marina. And during the discussion, and you still can read the staff report condition, there's nowhere that the commission said that $3 million have to spend in the coastal zone. What they said, KLM have to engagement plan, public facility and public amenity for the benefit of marine residents. So that's the reason I propose outside improvement outside the coastal zone. And my proposal is to build the sidewalk, missing sidewalk on Carmel Avenue, Dollar Avenue, and Redwood to Ride. So why is that? So you look back at the Marina for the last 50 years. We had about 15 mayors, of 50 council members, and every election season you receive flyer and you receive door knock and say, I promise you, I'll do the sidewalk if I elected. And have you seen any sidewalk done for the last 50 years from the promise of 50 council? Zero. And even one person talked about that. If I don't get a sidewalk bill, I resign. You think that they will resign? No. So that's the reason I put out for the and so where's the need? No, give me 2 minutes. 1 minute.
Respectful, everybody gets time. You've had a lot of.
The reason you look back 50 years, right? You count the number of school days, say 200 school day per year, and you calculate up roughly 100,000 children walking on the street, and they walk, and then the car over splash water into there. And you look at the current CIP, you have the city measure 140 projects. You think when those missing sidewalk will be done in next 5 years? No, 10 years, unlikely. And I can bet you we all in this room here, park and don't missing sidewalk will never get done. So that's the reason I propose outside meeting the law and not restricting the quarter zone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for expressing yourself. Anybody have any other thoughts they would like to share with the group? Try to keep it 2 minutes, please.
I just want to say everybody did such a great job. I'm so impressed, And group one, your idea about the concessions, I was like, man, that's a great idea, And I only had one problem, and that is paying for parking at the Marina State Beach. And when we first moved here, and I just go to the beach a lot, like on my way out, I maybe pull into the parking lot and I sit for 5 or 10 minutes, And when I discovered, I said, wow, beach access, free parking. That's just like, wow, that was just such a great thing. And it just made me feel so much more in love with Marina, and it made it so much more welcoming, and again, I know there's a lot of people like me who will go out for 5 or 10 minutes on their lunch break and just sit in the parking lot and watch the waves. So,
Thank you for that comment. I guarantee the Coastal Commission loves that comment as well, given their mission to provide beach access. So you're a poster child for the Coastal Commission right now on that front, in a good way. Anything else? Any other comments you need to get off your chest? You just want to make sure you were expressed, that you haven't had a chance to express. Okay. Yeah, sure.
As one of those people who loves to go to the beach after work and look at the waves for a few minutes, I totally get you. And we discussed the fact that yeah, we wouldn't actually like to pay for the parking ourselves. But I think part of the discussion too was that, well, at least that way, right? Because the marina should be for marina residents, and at least if we're charging for parking, that means tourists are paying some of it too. And that was the same idea with the concessions, right? How can we bring in money from outside the city so that we're ultimately working with more than just a flat 3 million, right? And hope have some ongoing funds for these types of projects. But I totally get you. Would rather not pay for parking myself. I just, I see cities like Marina or like Monterey and Pacific Grove benefiting from these revenue streams. And are we just left behind? And then I will just add that our group talked specifically about trail access from the lake court access points, and I just want to explain a little bit why I specifically brought that up. I not just selfishly, I do live on Lake Drive, but what else I notice about my neighborhood is that it's a lot of the working families, it's a lot of the lower income families, right? That's one of the higher density areas of Marina, right? And so for those of us who may be working multiple jobs, trying to raise a family here, right, that beach access would be wonderful. But if you've ever been to the Lake Court beach access, it's like climbing a mountain to get there, right? So just the thought of maybe serving the greatest number of the most residents with that beach access point. That was my motivation there.
Great.
Yes, and another little point of clarification on the parking. We weren't saying to put it into the state park parking, but actually adding parking down right off the dunes area between the off ramp and the thing where all the cypress trees are falling over, and just put that in there. So that would be an extra. So if you can't park over here, it's an overflow. So if you're in there for 5 or 10 minutes, it won't matter. But if you're coming to spend the day there and you get there at 8 o'clock and you don't move that car, last weekend we had just the first sun in a long time. And I walk to the beach every day. And when I walk down there, the parking, literally where it says no stopping, no parking, there were cars parked up on the sidewalk. They were parked all the way down, and you couldn't get in if you wanted to. So it wasn't just the revenue stream, but if you had that, let's say 100 car or even less than that, 50 car parking lot right there in that little corner, you charge $2 for the day. That would be the actual generation of an income, but it would also alleviate that pressure on the other parking lot that's falling into the ocean all the time.
Great. Yeah, 1 sec. I just want to make sure. Any other comments? Okay, let me catch Liz real quick. She gets to claim seniority having been in the city the longest. So we gotta hear from Liz.
I'm glad you didn't say also my age.
No, I didn't say you're just duration in the city.
But hey, I'm proud of my age. Let's put it this way.
I'm proud of you too.
No, I tell you what, I think local people should not have to pay to go to the beach. Maybe there should be some kind of a
Permit or something.
permit, that you live here. How many families with 4 or 5 kids or even 3 kids could afford that? Mom and dad want to take the kids to the beach. I gotta pay $5 or whatever the fee would be. I don't think local people should have to pay for. The other ones, that come to tourists, yeah, they want to see our beach, let them pay, but not local. There should be something. Other ones, you out of city, out of the county, out of the, California, you pay.
Make those outsiders pay. All right, that's it. I got it. Check.
Any of the public parking in Pacific Grove, Carmel, Monterey, if they're paid public parking, all you have to do is show your license. If you're a member of, if you live in the county of Monterey, you show your license and the parking is $3. If you don't live in the county of Monterey, you will pay $15 to $20. So it's just a matter. You just say, I'm a local. They'll look at your license and they'll put you through and you get the $3 ticket as opposed to the $10, $15, $20 ticket.
Wow. Hot tourism tip right there. Okay. All right. There was one final comment, I think, here. Did you have a question, actually?
I like the idea of what you mentioned earlier is maybe having a different designated parking area. So maybe one lot is 30 minutes time, and then you have other lots that are all day, something like that. That might work.
So you could do your 30-minute lunch.
That's the parks that action in that place. So charge there anyway. Other one would be what I'm down. You can pay the $2 instead of the $25 parking ticket you're going to get for parking red zone.
Okay. All right. Lane, I think we need a separate project just around parking and parking access and how to monetize parking lots to enrich Marina while taking care of our Marina residents. That's kind of the message. That's the vibe I'm hearing. Okay, let's go to our final slide. We got a final slide. Magical. All right. So we're going to, if you are free to also, everything you said today has been recorded. We're going to take photos of these. They're going to be included in the packet. Additionally, if you wish to submit direct feedback in your own words, so you make sure your voice is properly expressed, you can fill out the form that's online. It'll be available through Friday of next week. And then we need to take it offline because we need to prepare a report. We're going to put a report together. All the materials that we talked about, everything's going to be available online at this URL, which is cityofmarina.org/for-marina by Marina. Peter's going to be busting his tail with some other my teammates, putting together a final report on all the feedback we got and providing that in directly to the city council for their consideration. And then that information, along with council guidance, is going to be sent along to the California Coastal Commission. That'll be happening at the April 15th city council meeting. And that is time sensitive because there's some stuff going on with the Coastal Commission where we need to get our stuff in, partly because Cal-Am's going to be submitting their stuff as well. So we want to make sure your voice is at the table. And I think that's the last slide, right, Peter? I think we're good. So I would just say thank you. This was great. You guys have great energy. It's a beautiful day here in Marina. I really appreciate you all being here. Thanks for coming out, and I appreciate your participation in the process. Stay connected. Oh, and we also have a budget session going on this afternoon, starting at, Lane, why don't you talk about that real quick?
Actually, a lot of your comments are really good for our budget session. So it was great. You don't need to be there, but because we have that, we will also include that in feedback there. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to come here. I didn't expect this many people. Your feedback heard very loud and clear. Parking's an issue. When you think about it, we're here, we're along the beach, and we're very limited with our parking to the beach. I do the same thing. I run to Marina State Beach on good days, and I'll just walk out there, and it's very limited. So that was great feedback to hear that. Want to acknowledge Councilmember Disher's here. We specifically told the council, because they love to be engaged with you. We said, we really want to hear from our community. And so we said, you can come, but listen. So it's not that they're ignoring you at all. We really wanted to make this all about you and to hear back from you. And it exceeded our expectations. So thank you very much.